Hello and welcome to Fire Breathing Kittens, an actual play podcast. Every episode microplot is a complete adventure with a beginning and an end that fits into the overarching macroplot of the whole season. Because they stand sturdily on their own, you can listen to these adventures in any order and can skip any you don't enjoy. Today, we are playing using the combat mechanics from a game called CBR+PNK. It's our first time playing, so we might make some mistakes. If you enjoyed these mechanics, you can find CBR+PNK at cabinetofcuriosities.game. Build your own CBR+PNK character and play a game with friends. Speaking of friends, today we are joined by Nugh.
Hello. Hello, I'm Nugh, the silent, no longer silent. Nugh is a 6.5-foot-ish tall flesh golem. His skin is a kind of greenish gray. He is made up of the deceased body parts of other cadavers. And as of very recently, he is now able to speak.
Good to see you speak, Nugh. And Rusty Surefoot.
Hi, y'all. This here's Rusty Surehoof. Rusty is also 6.5-foot tall minotaur, and so he's a shaggy brown color. He is decked out in denim overalls, and in this particular setting, he's on his minotaur horns. He's got these stylized kind of circuitry that's just purely ornamental, but looks real badass down the spikes, and he's got some sweet shades that he wears around.
Very appropriate. And Bill the Statueman.
Hello, my name is Bill. I'm a 7-foot-tall walking statue. I have grey skin and light grey eyes, and people say I have a rock-hard bod.
Wonderful. Nugh, Rusty, and Bill are in the Fire Breathing Kittens Guild Hall. The guild is a large building with a bar, a sitting area with wooden tables and chairs, and a wall with a chalkboard and job flyers posted. But today, a well-dressed man with a good amount of cyberware approaches the party. Hello, the man says. I work for a certain person who needs some assistance and is willing to pay handsomely to have you obtain a case for me in 3 days from another certain person. Let's call them the principal. And they live in New Nugh. They will be driven in a armored car with guards and will have a case on them that has a lot of value for their employer. I don't know what the case is before you ask, but it should be pretty obvious when you see it. That's the basics. Do you have any questions so far?
Well, I'm certainly obliged to take up a job opportunity that might bring a little bit of coin my way. A little bit of clarification on my part. It sounded like you said that we are obtaining a case from the principal. Does the principal know and expect us to be obtaining this case, or are we meant to be relieving him of it?
The man looks at you and he says, you're oh, never mind. Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, does the principal anticipate that we will be receiving this case, or are you expecting us to relinquish him of it?
You will have to relinquish him of it, and you will have to take the principal to a safe house after they've been liberated from their protection.
This doesn't sound very heroic.
You look pretty distinctive. You're Bill, aren't you?
Yes.
Well, Bill, there's a reason I've been asked to speak to you in particular. I don't know the details, but whatever's in that case is something very valuable involving your town of Hardingwood.
Will it help them?
That's my understanding, yes.
We have to go get it then.
Excellent. Well, you can go to my safe house. Once you obtain the principal, you can go to my safe house. There's plenty of food and beer there for 24 hours. And once you've secured the principal and the case, some people will come by, take the case. You'll take the principal to a safe spot in New Nugh and let them go to be picked up.
How will we distinguish these new people that'll come along looking for the case?
Once you give me a call, I'll tell you what they look like.
This sounds like robbery and kidnapping.
Temporary kidnapping.
That doesn't make it okay.
Yes, well, the people who are trying to get this case to where it needs to go, they're not very good people. And if that case gets to where it needs to go in the Clark building, that will be a very big problem for a lot of people. So while I understand your moral problems, I assure you this is the lesser of two evils.
But still evil.
I think the greater evil might be letting somebody's valuable property, somebody's town, fall into the hands of unscrupulous banks. That is quite concerning for me
Anyone
and
who
my
would
employer.
be looking closely at Rusty, like the hairs on his neck and head, like just kind of bristle a little bit. Well, think of it like this, Nugh. It's kind of like going to see the doctor, right? Like, I mean, if you've got a gangrenous limb, like, it's not a good thing to cut that limb off, but it's a better thing to cut that limb off than to let the whole body go sour. You know what I mean?
Nugh looks down at his arms, both of which were sewn on, and says, "I'm not sure I understand."
That might have been maybe not the best analogy for you in particular. Let's just say, Bill, how do we help Nugh here recognize the importance of helping? What was it, the folks at Hardingwood? Is that what I heard?
Those will be the people that benefit. Yes.
Though that is my hometown, I was created to protect Hardingwood, and if this is something that would hurt them if it goes through, it is my moral responsibility to see it done.
Nugh looks at Bill for a long moment and says, "Is that a responsibility that you choose to take on?"
It is how I will be a hero.
By stealing and kidnapping someone.
You know, she makes really good points, Rusty. I have my book on heroing, and if it was just stealing, maybe, but kidnapping is very rarely heroic.
That is a fair point. Generally speaking, it is pretty hard to find a way to frame a kidnapping as a way of doing good in the world. But again, it sounds like this is an individual who's seeking to do or cause harm, and kind of looking towards the man as he's saying this, and we're just indisposing him so that he cannot. I mean, that's not much more different than when you got folks that like put people in jail that want to do harm to others and stuff like that. We're not gonna murder this guy or something like that. We're just kind of removing him from the field of play for a time until things elapse. And I'm kind of, again, looking to you there, sir, to see, do I have the right of this situation?
You can call me Mr. Chen. And
Mr.
Yes,
Chen.
Yes, and if you wish to convince this person to come with you, that would be acceptable. However, the people that this person is with probably would not be amenable to that.
I have been tricked too many times to simply take you at your word, sir. I'm going to need some proof that you are not tricking me into doing something bad again.
Mr. Chen looks a little concerned, but he says, "What kind of evidence would you like?"
I want to know what it is we are taking. I want to know who it is you want us to kidnap or inconvenience. I want to know who these people are that are doing bad. I will not go in blind to a situation and trust a stranger again.
Mr. Chen looks at Rusty and Nugh, kind of like looking to see if they agree or disagree.
Nugh stands, takes a step over to stand beside Bill.
GM, I'm not trying to throw your game off, but Bill has been tricked so many times into doing bad things. This is character growth that he's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I should ask questions.
I love it. I love it. It's fun.
This is what happens when we're almost 3/4 of the way through our character arc. It's like, wait a minute.
So Rusty leans in to Bill and Nugh, kind of puts hands on each of their shoulders and brings them in close and whispers like, "Hey, I get you, friends. I actually really appreciate y'all, naming those reservations and working to make sure that we're doing something on the level. Here's the thing. I often find that kind of once we get into the mix of things, we get more details and we can always pivot and do what we think is right in that moment. But we don't get our seat at the table unless we, accept the invitation, so to speak. So, we maybe end up helping Mr. Chen and inconveniencing the principal, or maybe we find out something along the way that means that we shift gears a little bit. I'm okay with that, but we won't know unless we get in there and find out. Am I right?
You see a confused look on Bill's face.
Are we sitting at a table we can drive for this? I don't. What?
Bill is very literal.
No, kind of looks at Rusty, looks at Bill, looks at Mr. Chen. No kidnapping, but we'll get the case.
Very well. Perhaps it won't even be considered kidnapping because if I know people like the bank, that person who's holding the case is not an important person. In fact, they might not be doing this completely of their free will.
Nugh kind of shakes his head and says, I wish you hadn't said that. Every person is an important person.
Unfortunately, not to some people in power. They look at things a different way. But I agree with you, Nugh, the man says very charmingly.
I would like to, and I know we're not at the point where we're supposed to roll dice, but I would like to see if I can tell if Mr. Chen is lying about how he perceives the principal as being important or unimportant.
Okay, so we'll do our first roll, our first action roll. So step 1, describe your approach and skill and any other factor you would like to employ as part of this roll.
I am empathic. I am very empathic. That's what I'm using here.
Okay.
I also have a die in Analyze, which is a skill. So I'm using that too.
Sure. And I will say, so you're using empathic and analyze. Mm-hmm. And so now I assess the risk. So I'm going to say that this is a low risk. So it's going to be level 1 risk. And with the effect, and now I also pick an effect, which will, for the listeners at home, this is how effective Nugh's roll is going to be if he's successful. And I'm going to put that, which is both of these are levels 1 through 4. So I'm going to say it's going to be a level 2, which is the average default effect. So we're going to have a level 1 threat and a level 2 effect.
Now, help me out here. With 2 dice in empathic and 1 in analyze, does that mean I roll 3 dice, or do I start with 1 and add them to my roll?
You
which would
roll
give me 4.
Right. You add the number of dice from your approach and the number of dice from your skill. So that would be a total of 3 dice.
Okay, so I don't get like 1 default die?
What do you mean by default die?
Like, I'm trying to do a thing. If I didn't have anything in an approach, would I just start with 1 die?
Oh, if you didn't have anything in
an roll 2 and keep lower if you have no pips.
Right. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
But you have 3, so way better than 0.
I have a 5, 2 4s, and a 1.
A 5, 2 4s, and a 1. That is so we take the highest, which is a 5, which is a.
Oh wait, I rolled
success.
4 dice. I'm sorry. Either way, I still got at least a 4. So.
Sure. So that's a partial success. So in this game, a partial success means you will have some kind of consequence. Those are consequences that I, as the GM, pick. So I'm going to say it's a reduced effect. So in essence, Nugh is only going to get some of what he wants. So I would say that Nugh isn't 100 because it's now a level 1 effect. He's not 100% sure, but he thinks that Mr. Chen might be leading you on. And maybe he doesn't think this person's that important, but maybe he does. He's very charismatic. It's difficult to tell for sure. But Nugh has got a feeling that he doesn't.
I look over at Rusty, who seems really gung-ho on this caper, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Rusty, you want to do this.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a sore spot when it comes to banks hurting communities. So that part is particular of interest to me. And also, speaking of aforementioned banks putting a hurt on communities, I find myself in need of a bit of coin to help out some family in a sticky situation. So yeah, I've got some interest in us taking up this Mr. Chen on his offer.
How much does your family owe?
You know, honestly, some of those numbers are a little bit beyond me. Like, we start getting into the nitty gritty. I tried having Arathar the other day, like, walk me through some of the legal stuff, and I just kind of glazed over. But I know that we need some cash to alleviate the situation.
I look over at Bill. Bill, you want to help Hardingwood?
Yes.
I look back at Mr. Chen. No kidnapping.
No kidnapping, but there might be a chance that case will have to be taken with the principal. But do your best to remove it if you can.
I nod.
Worst case, we can take his arm and Professor Spock can put it back on for him.
Mr. Chen kind of looks a little green around the gills at that suggestion. Hopefully that won't be necessary, Bill.
Just a suggestion.
All right, Mr. Chen. So we're gonna travel to New Nicomoy, and we're gonna find this principal and his entourage and procure that case, and then take it to the location that you shared with us for the safe house. That's still kind of the game plan.
Yes. Give you a few more details. The car they'll be in one car with a driver and 2 guards. They will be going. Mr. Chen gives you the information essentially on a big augmented reality 3D map of New Nicomoy, the exact path the car will be taking and its destination. And he says, I would strongly recommend not taking any heavy weapons. You are all men of size. So perhaps it can be stopped without being destroyed, but obviously we don't want to hurt anybody. He says that very carefully. if we can avoid it, particularly the principal.
Nugh nods.
And the safe house is a place called. It's unusual. It's a place called Shays. It is a bar and. In New Nicomoy, the person running it is a man named Arjun. Just tell them that you are working with me, and he will give you a secure spot in there and make sure you are not harmed.
So we're going to the Shays Lounge.
It's more of a bar. Shays Lounge?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Whoosh. Any questions?
This is a pretty fancy map you got here with the route. I don't suppose your level of intel also extends to what the guards might be carrying to defend themselves.
Well, since it's a sedan, they probably don't have any heavy weapons. Just not enough room in there.
That makes sense.
But these days in New Nicomoy, they could be carrying something on their person, quite literally. Again, something I think you would quite familiar with, Nugh.
Nugh nods. New Nicomoy is a interesting place.
Well, I can't wait to see it.
In that case, gentlemen, I think I will take my leave unless you have any more questions.
Nugh shakes his head.
Rusty goes to shake Mr. Chen's hand.
Mr. Chen, does Rusty have like a hoof for a hand, or is it like just like a really big paw?
It's like really big hands. Big, thick fingers. Still articulated, but just massive.
Mr. Chen looks a little disturbed as his like hand gets swallowed by Rusty's hand, but he nods. He nods to Rusty.
I'm still hesitant because I don't know how this is going to help Nikamoy. But know this, Mr. Chen, and he gets right in your face. If this turns out to be a trick, there will be consequences for you.
I would expect nothing less, Bill. Mr. Chen looks a little shaken.
Bill pats him on the shoulder. He goes,
But if this helps Nikamoy, or if this helps Hardingwood, we can be friends.
Before we leave, Nugh is going to pick up his 2 little animatronic toys. They are animated by little nanobots. He's bringing them home.
So at this point, I can let you guys make a plan if you want to. I think I can even step back, or I could just stay online and you just ask me any questions that might come up out of character. It's up to you.
so the basics are we have to stop a car, get the case this guy is carrying, and get it to Mr. Chin.
The case this guy is carrying will be attached to them, like literally attached. So you'll have to take both, essentially. If you find a way to kind of cut it, then you can just take the case.
I was going to ask, do we know what it is? Is it chained to him? Is it like sewn into him? How big is the case?
He wasn't very specific, but if the car has 4 people in it, it's not going to be too big, I would think. Just think of an average sedan, and how big can you have a case connected to somebody and still fit in the car? I guess you would think. So probably like a briefcase, something like that.
So here's my rough idea of what we can do. Bill weighs, if you look at how much granite weighs, and he is a granite statue, Bill weighs in the neighborhood of 7,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Drop me on the front of the car to stop the vehicle. They will all fly forward and hit themselves while they're dazed. Go in with bolt cutters, cut the case, and skedaddle.
Yep.
Shock and awe. Yeah, I know. It sounds like a good plan.
So we'll just need to find a spot where it goes under a bridge and Bill can time it and land on the vehicle and cause an accident.
So he's gonna. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Because we're going in pretty strong there, I think Nugh is going to come in with heavy gear for my load.
Oh, Bill was going with heavy gear too to add some sort of armor and protection to himself.
Man, now I feel like the odd person out, but I was planning to go in medium.
Well, we do need someone that can go in quick and be the first one there to cut the cable while Nugh and Bill either fight the guards off or continue to cause some sort of distraction.
Sure.
So you don't have to. Sorry, go ahead.
I watched too many heist movies that I had just an idea in my back pocket. It's a simple one, but
It is a simple one. And, the fact that we have a 7,000-pound character in our heist crew really helps with that.
yeah.
Well, you also have a minotaur and a golem.
Yeah, we're the
who's
lightweights.
quite large. Yeah. So in this game, another thing I like about it, load and gear is actually selected once the mission is on, as opposed to before the game or in between games. So if you guys, if you guys want to take a minute to just quickly pick your gear, or if you've kind of had most of your gear already selected,
I think gear you select when you need it, right?
I see. Yeah.
Yeah. But the
I think
load
we've
you
done
need
it, yeah.
the load you need to know as you start.
I've done it. I think I did it slightly different before, but that's probably the raw. Okay. Do you guys have any questions about gear and load? All right.
So
Yeah. Sorry.
So the load is how many spots we can carry, and then the gear is what we'll decide in mission, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
so
I
if you're
say, I'm a
using-
heavy load,
Yeah.
so I can carry 7 things, and I'll choose those as the mission goes. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Then I'm all set.
Rusty, you're all set?
Yep.
Okay. So, if somebody wants to, somebody who's good at analyzing or I'll also allow analyzing or range combat or something. Kind of want to look at the map and find the perfect spot for this particular action.
I would love to.
Okay.
Anyone else good at analyze?
I'm good at smarts and medium at analyze.
Okay.
I actually have one in analyze.
Yeah, I have one in analyze and one in smart, so it sounds like Rusty might be the clever one in the crew.
But would certainly happily welcome an assist if someone wanted to assist on the roll.
So
Didn't you say ranged combat was the other one we could do? 'Cause
Yeah,
I've got two in ranged combat.
I gotta say, I made a slight error in how I described it. I'd want your characters to like figure out what the best spot is, but in a way, you guys got to. Anybody can select the approach and skill they think would be appropriate, and then so long as they describe it it correctly, if that makes sense.
Using me as a ranged weapon to damage this thing, I have 2 in ranged weapon.
Do we want to give it to Bill?
What would the approach be? Aggressive ranged combat. That makes sense.
I also have 1 in athletics, and one of them is parkour, and I think if I tie those 2 things together, I should get 3.
The way the game works, it's you pick an approach and a skill, but I like this so much, I will increase your effect because of just that fun stuff. So this will be a 1 threat because you're just planning, but the effect will be a 3, so above average effect.
And I rolled 2 dice, correct? Since I have
what's
2
your
in...
What's your
I
aggressive?
have 2 in ranged aggressive? Oops, wrong. 2.
Okay, so you had 2 in aggressive and 2 in range combat.
Yes.
So that would be 4 dice.
4 dice. All right. And I rolled 3, 3, 6, 1.
6 is a full success. So
Hooray.
You have no consequences. You find that at the time that this car is going, they happen to drive under a particular overpass that has very light traffic at the time. So if you pick that time, there's less of a chance anybody else will see it and get involved.
Awesome. That actually brings up another point. We should probably think about crowd control and how to keep other cars away from us while we're doing this. I don't know if maybe we could steal like a truck to block the road behind them right as I jump to stop traffic from getting up there, or hack into some lights and cause some traffic or something. Just spitball in here.
I mean, I'm just going to take a page right out of my hometown summer traffic scene and just grab some orange cones and put them out.
There you go. Simple is always best.
And then I think Rusty and Nugh should hide under the overpass. So if Bill drops down basically right as they're about to leave the underpass and stops them still in the underpass, then we can swarm in and be kind of hidden from any prying eyes above us or whatever.
I think I'll try and focus on grabbing. I imagine that the principal will be pretty recognizable as it will be the individual holding the case or attached to a case. So I'll just focus on extraction from the vehicle, and then once removed from the guards, then we can apply the bolt cutters and separate the principal from the case and go on our merry.
So a thought, when I land on the car, we should have smoke grenades or some way to disorient beyond just the wreck. Like I could throw them in through the presumably broken windshield before you guys hit and just wear gas masks.
Bill, do you need to breathe?
Bill does not breathe.
I don't need to breathe.
I will make sure to bring
turn
a
and
gas
look at
mask.
Rusty.
The weird one in the group is the one who can breathe.
I can breathe, but I don't have to.
Check out the breather over here.
Right.
Okay, is there anything else you guys want to do with this plan? Or want to make any more additions to the plan?
No, let's just jump in.
Yeah. So now we'll begin another aspect of the game, which is called a progress track. If you're not familiar with a progress track, it is think of it as a pie of an X amount of pieces. So this will be 6 pieces. Every time somebody makes a roll trying to accomplish the progress track. So in this case, you'll be trying to get the principal out of there with the case, or get the case, as the case might be. You'll be telling me what you do. You'll be rolling, and if you succeed, depending on the effect, you'll be filling in 1 to 4 slices of that pie. That being determined by the level of effect. So we're going to be doing a 6 progress track. So you will need to fill in 6 pieces of that pie. I know it's a little hard without a visual aid, but I think you guys, do you guys get what I'm going? Get what I'm saying? I know it's a little confusing. Yes. Okay. So I can actually, I'm going to use my beautiful art skills.
For the listeners at home, in other RPGs, this is sometimes called a clock.
Yeah, I think the regular name is clock. They changed it to tracks. So here's my beautiful circle and pie. Right now it's empty, but it's got 6. You'll notice it has 6 segments. Okay, so yeah, another part is we skip to the action. So who wants to start off with the action?
I think Bill's jumping down should be the initiating action here, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I was going to say that.
I'm going to say you guys came up with a really good plan. That's probably not too dangerous. So the default threat will be 1. Let me rephrase. Not too dangerous for you 3.
Okay.
So the default's going to be 1, but the standard effect's going to be 2. So Bill, take it away.
All right. So Bill is standing on the bridge, and as it comes up, when it's the right time, Bill will jump and try to land on the front of the car.
So I say, so what approach and skill would you be using?
I mean, the skill I would like to use again would be the aggressive ranged combat again. That, like, I'm trying to jump on the front of this guy's car, use myself as a missile, and crush it.
Go for it. So that would be, I think, the same as before. 4 dice.
All right. 2, 1, 1, 4.
So your highest result was a 4, which would indicate a partial success. So I'm going to actually say that because Bill literally is turning himself into a 700-pound missile. 7,000. Oof. We're going to increase the threat, meaning that Bill probably injured some people slightly, at least moderately in the car. So I'm going to again do my beautiful artwork. So your effect was 2. So here's the beautiful progress track now with 2 segments filled. So yeah, Bill, you can describe exactly how that happened.
All right. So as this car is just pulling out from under the overpass, Bill jumps up and lands right on the engine, and the car actually starts to flip over him like he is a pivot point. And just before it hits 90 degrees, Bill slaps the car back down. When he slaps it, he breaks the windshield and hits the driver in the head. There's the injured guy, and it goes down, and boom! And the car settles, and Bill is now standing in a hole through the engine block around him.
Bill sees, once he shatters the dark glass of the windshield, he sees, he can't see in the back seat because it has a barrier, but he sees 2 well-dressed men. They kind of look like, you're like Secret Service agents, sort
Hold
of.
on, Can I
Yeah.
change it just a little bit? Bill has a
course.
magical flower that lets him shrink and grow. When he jumped off, he was shrinking, and then right before he hits, he grows. So you get that extra longer distance versus where he was falling, so he actually hits harder. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to use my magic.
Yeah, so that they're also shocked by just so many things that they've just witnessed. But they're definitely bleeding. One from their noses, because they have been smacked around and got some plexiglass in their faces. Yeah, so pass it on to whoever would like to go next.
I think that as that sound of crunch and explosion hits, Rusty quickly reaches into his overalls, pulling out the air purifier mask. For those at home, checking off one of my 5 load for a survival kit. And so straps that on over his muzzle and sprints towards the car with the focus on presumably opening or possibly ripping the door off the hinges, whatever level of force is necessary to get into that backseat area.
It's going to be, yeah.
I did forget to add, because we did talk about throwing it in. Where do I just mark one of my load spots off for the smoke grenades I would have thrown in? Infiltration gear.
There's actually grenades as an option.
There we go.
Yep. And you get 2 per loadout, so that would be one of the 2.
Cool. Done.
I would like to rush up with Nugh with, I'm going to call them demolition tools, the jaws of life, to just absolutely tear apart the back seat of this. And I mean, not really the seat, the entire back end of this vehicle.
These are futuristic jaws of life that don't move at the speed of smell. The jaws of life are very slow.
Not these. These are cyber
These
jaws
are
of life.
jaws
These
of
are
life.
like this thing opens like a tin can in a can opener.
Okay, so let's dial it back just a smidge. So I think we would want to do kind of 2 separate roles. Mm-hmm. Or we could do one role with Nugh assisting Rusty, or vice versa.
Do we want to call that a group role, either led by Nugh or led by Rusty?
Oh. I think, lead group would be all participating PCs. So that's like when you 3 are like infiltrating a building together or something like that.
Well, I mean, we're infiltrating this car together. I mean, it's 3 of us working together.
It is. I think for this particular
I'm actually
role,
perfectly okay with being support for Rusty or an assist for Rusty, because I think ultimately what we're trying to do here is get the principal out of this vehicle, right? That's the ultimate goal of both of our actions. So I'm totally happy being an assist for Rusty on that.
Okay, and then I'm going to give you guys an extra boost because Nugh is you're both using gear. I will let the effect, since you're both ticking off gear, I'll actually give you an extra 2 to an effect. So if you get this, you'll actually fill in the entire clock.
Cool. So to get just through the door, I'm imagining this being an aggressive athletics, possibly close combat.
Yeah, I would say close combat because it says brawling or weapon. So I think brawling
sounds great.
Ripping a door kind of sounds like brawling.
Cool. So I will roll aggressive plus close combat, which is 1, and 2 is 3, and then an assist die from Nugh. Is that how we're?
Yes. Yep. And then your effect is going to be 4, and your threat's going to be 1.
All right, that is 6, 5, 5, 3.
That is a full success without consequence. So Rusty rips off the door, and there is something that's probably will stop him in his tracks. He sees another man also dressed like the 2 in the front, like Secret Service agents. The other person in there is a jackalope, rather on the short side, with and sure enough, she's got a case attached to her, I guess the equivalent of wrist. And she's kind of curled up, scared as heck. She's got some injuries from the car nearly being flipped over. So she doesn't even see Rusty quite yet. And before you continue, I'll just say, because you succeeded, your progress track is filled. So the other guys are basically unconscious at this point. So you guys can do pretty much what you want. The jackalope is not unconscious.
Yeah. Oh, heck. Reach in there, grab an antler in a case, and just kind of scoop out who I presume to be my friend Tess.
It is, in fact, Tess. And she looks up and says, No. She kind of touches her head a little dramatically. I can't. I gotta be hallucinating from the concussion.
Here, we'll figure this out a little bit more once we get somewhere a bit quieter. But let's get away from the scene of this vehicular destruction.
Something we didn't cover. How are they I can't say the word. How are they escaping?
I don't know how fast y'all are.
Probably should have covered that before.
Terribly fast, but that's okay because I think we're just gonna like run away, right? With but is she chained to the case? She's holding the case.
I don't think we want to necessarily do a roll for this, though we can if you want to examine it more carefully. Who's the most technically oriented of the group, would you say?
That might be Rusty
or Nugh.
Not it.
Okay,
I have one in smart.
Rusty's got 2 smarts, 1 in analyze.
I have
I have 1 in smart and 1 in analyze.
Anybody have anything in science
or streetwise?
No. I was born in a lab. That doesn't mean I paid any attention.
I have rigging. Does that count?
That's way better, yeah.
Actually, rigging would count. Bill, when Bill kind of gets off this destroyed car and approaches, they notice that the case and the handcuffs that are attached to Tess are made of adamantite, which means even Bill, with his immense strength, would not be able to break it. You will need some specialized equipment, and the case is a Halliburton -1, meaning that it is nearly impossible to open without the key. Not impossible, but nearly impossible.
So are all of the guards unconscious here now?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we go through their pockets and see if any of them have the key?
Yeah, you can, but you don't find anything. You find some other knickknacks, but that's about it.
So it can possibly be picked, correct?
It could, but not without getting the right person or equipment.
Bill is going to look at his 2 companions and say,
I have someone I can call here that can probably pick this lock. Do you want to do this here, or do you want to go somewhere else?
I'd be a big fan for us getting away from the scene of this little larceny.
I look at the jackalope and because I actually haven't met Tess before, and I say, "Are you in distress?" Keeping in mind she just went through this horrific car accident, the car that she was in has just been completely destroyed and everything. So it seems like an obvious question, but also I ask it anyway. Are you in distress?
Yes, the car I was in was just annihilated.
Sorry.
Were you in there by your own free will?
Well, I agreed, but the only reason I would agree to do this was because I'm in debt to the bank. Otherwise, would I get into a car with 3 strange men to deliver a case that was chained to me? She looks like she's in tears.
Then you wish to be relieved of this. I look at the case. burden.
Yes, this is not my property. You can take it if you want to, but they haven't told me much, and they certainly didn't tell me how to take it off.
Will you come with us willingly?
She looks at Rusty. Who's the Frankenstein?
Oh, where are my manners? Here, Tess, this is my friend Nugh and my friend Bill. Bill and Nugh, this is my friend Tess.
I hold up my arm and pull my sleeve down so she can see my fire-breathing kitten tattoo.
She says, oh. She finally looks relieved. Yes, I will come with you willingly.
I look at Bill. I say, it's not kidnapping.
Okay, I'm on board. But I would also like to say, technically, she would look like a Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein was the doctor.
And then Bill runs off into the crowd.
Yeah, I think we beat feet.
Okay. Unless somebody wants to do something else, do we want to just move on to the next scene, which would be the safe house?
I don't know that we're going to the safe house.
Okay.
I don't trust Mr. Chen, and he told us to go there. I'm not entirely convinced it's going to be a safe house.
I think that is entirely possible as well. And I think I don't know if this would be flashback worthy, but I think us setting up a second safe house that Mr. Chen doesn't know about, an actually safe house.
I know just the place.
Yeah, I've never been to New Nicomoy before, so if you got a place in mind, Nugh, I'm totally up for it.
So in New Nicomoy, I have been to the stadium. I don't know. It's not a coliseum, but where they have the big wrestling fights, and I know Honda Domeki, who is like a champion there. I would like to go and see if we can have arranged him to give us safety. Side note, Honda Domeki, last time I saw him, was actually in regular Nicomoy.
I also met Honda.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said it was the New Nicomoy Coliseum?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if you Nugh, why don't you describe what everyone sees when they get to the Coliseum? What makes it interesting?
So imagine a variation on a gladiator coliseum that is all neon and bright lights and it's basically I'm describing a soccer field, but and down below in the sort of the player section, there's locker rooms and there's like a few special star rooms that champions get to themselves because they're champions. So apparently we want them to feel really comfortable. And it's the public facing side is all bright lights and neon and screaming fans, and down in the backside it's a little bit dingier, a little bit dirtier, a little bit more seedy. The paint's peeling a bit. It's fluorescent lights. It's,
And are they going through like that seedier entrance to meet Honda?
Yep. We're heading to the champion's dressing room.
You find Honda, and before I get ahead of myself, do they have authorization
We absolutely
to kind of
do
go
not.
into the?
Absolutely not. But last time we did this, we brought in a gift basket and basically Trojan horsed our way in. So I'm in favor of that this time. Bill, could you stand on this dolly for a moment?
Yes.
And
But also, if you carry a fire extinguisher or a ladder, nobody ever stops you from going anywhere.
Well, if you stand very still, we can say that you are a decoration.
Okay. Bill literally stops moving it like he is a statue again.
So we're gonna wheel Bill in and basically say, gift for the champion. I got to deliver this. I'm holding a clipboard.
How about Rusty and Tess?
That's a great question. I think. How big's this case? Halliburton N1?
It is, I'd say it's about the size of a regular like briefcase. It's a little smaller because it has to fit on Tess's wrist, but it's big enough to hold a set of like a sheaf of papers, like regular paper.
I would love for just the comedic effect for the two of us to be holding a ladder, but really it's Rusty holding it, and then Tess is just kind of like hanging on to the end of it.
That is a classic. To get the ladder in.
Yep.
So are you guys going to go in together with the ladder and the gift, or kind of separately?
I think
at
we're
the same time, just don't look at each other. Like we just happen to be coming through the entrance at the same time.
yeah.
Okay.
Two separate groups, but within eye shot, ear shot.
Okay, so and again, just for the listeners, we don't always have to do a progress track. I think so. I think this case we'll just do a roll, but we're gonna. You know what? I think this is a time for a lead group roll, as somebody mentioned before.
Yeah.
Okay, so the lead group is a special action, and it says all participating PCs roll for the same action and pick the best result among them. They all share the outcome, but the leader marks a stress for each failure. So who's going to be leading this this group action?
What action should we take? I don't think any of my skills that I have apply to this at all.
I'd love to believe that this is kind of like a charming influence style situation.
So I'm great at influence. I have nothing in stealth. So I would consider this for me very challenging, but I got a lot of influence.
Well, we're not. That's the whole thing, though, is we're not being stealthy. We're just walking up like we're meant to be there. You know, we're just trying to be charming.
Stealth includes subterfuge.
Oh, nuts!
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you guys tell me the approach. You guys individually tell me the approach you're using, and then you're all going to roll together.
But influence is also perform.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perform,
Because
negotiate.
when I think subterfuge, I don't necessarily think like always tricking people. Like I think, for me, influence more the perform as the one-on-one. Subterfuge would be like I'm putting fake information in their database, or like at least that's how I interpret it.
Okay. Then I'll take lead if I can use empathic and influence, because I'm good at both of those.
Empathic and influence.
Yeah, empathic.
That's charisma, leadership, and diplomacy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it would be maybe a little bit less. Yeah, that's fine. I'll accept that.
Okay.
So that would be empathic and okay. So and then how about everybody else? Because everyone's going to be rolling.
Yeah, I think everybody, if that's what we're landing on, then everyone rolls their empathic influence pool, and we just collectively share the best result. But if Nugh is leading, anyone that fails will stress Nugh out a little bit.
So I'm gonna say this is a good effect. This is going to be a level 3 effect, but I'm also going to say that this is a level 3 threat because the consequences will be pretty hectic, to say the least.
All right. Gonna stress me out, but okay.
All right. So everybody can make a roll.
Nugh, I'm sorry. I rolled a 1.
Thanks.
So
that was your highest?
Yeah.
Okay.
I only get 1 dice. I've got one in empathic and none in
influence.
Influencer.
I got a 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, there you go. Pair of 4s from Rusty.
Pair of 4s. So
in my head, what happens is like right as they get up there, Bill sneezes. Like he doesn't breathe, but something.
So mechanically, Nugh is going to take 2 stress because Rusty had a partial success, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that considered a failure? Oh no, I'm sorry, just 1 stress.
Okay.
Because so he takes 1 stress, and then so we got Bill sneezing, and Rusty and Tess maybe slightly screwing up the deception. But other than that, I'll let you guys role play this particular thing out.
So when yeah, go ahead.
The jackalope says, "Bless you."
Yeah, right. when Bill sneezes, Nugh tries to play it off, and this is the stress. Tries to play it off and like belatedly makes the motion as if he sneezed it himself, right? So it's like there's a chew, and then Nugh, like, quickly holds his hand up like he just sneezed.
The guards say the guards, who look like they're human, so they look like they would normally be big, beefy, intimidating bouncer types. Don't look quite as intimidating compared to they're maybe about Rusty size, but definitely not Nugh and Bill. But they say that you sneeze. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Bless you. And we got a ladder coming in. It's a busy day today. Yeah, come on in. Great. The other guard is staring at Bill like he's like, are you? That thing doesn't have like a speaker in it, does it? Pointing to Bill.
And Nugh is gonna think really fast on his feet here, and I think he's. I want to try to set something up here, which is strange and creative, and I'm not sure how to do it. So I'm hoping that my teammates can help me figure this out. But I want to make it so that it seems to this guard that he's just received a certain amount of like precognition. So Nugh is going to say something that like 30 seconds later will make sense. Does that make sense to y'all? And I think the way I'm going to do it is Nugh is going to look back at Rusty and Tess and say, "Oh, are you okay?" And then we've rehearsed this as like a preparation type thing where they're going to fake dropping something so that this guy thinks that there was he's got a little precog minute.
A little glitch in time.
A little glitch in time, yeah.
Yeah, so after Nugh does that, Rusty will kind of stumble a little bit, like, kind of flail a little bit with the ladder, and Tess swings wildly side to side as I get it righted back up and stabilized.
Since it was a full success, the guards totally fall for it somehow. They say, "All right, well, everyone, stay safe.
Yeah, and
be well."
And when we walk through, I mentioned something like, man, has anyone else had their augments start acting up lately? It's very strange. And then just walk right through. Like implying that his augment is doing that to him. I have no idea if he has an augment. It doesn't matter. He might even know that he doesn't have an augment. You know what I mean?
So I think that would be it. Good time to take a break for part one. So joining us for part one was Nugh.
Hello.
And Rusty.
Man, Tess just always seems to be tangled up in these things.
And Bill.
I think standing very still is one of my strong suits.
But also, before we say goodbye for the break, I would encourage our listeners to please write us a review. It really, really does help us out. It helps our visibility on iTunes, and we'd really appreciate it. And if you leave us a review, we will read it on air for one of our episodes.
Bye.
So we'll see you guys. Bye.
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 Today's mid-episode shout-out is, quote, Top in Luman, I hope I'm saying that right, innovator Sven, your groundbreaking ideas and inventions are shaping the future, and I'm excited to see what you'll do next, end quote. You can arrange for us to read your shout-out at firebreathingkittenspodcast.com. Did you know? We have paperback, ebook, hardcover and audiobook adaptations of our adventures on both Amazon and Audible. Check it out. Is there an episode of Fire-Breathing Kittens that would make someone you know smile? Well, telling them about it would help us. Thank you.
All right. Are we ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Over to you, GM.
Do we have? I've got a recap that I could read off if we want to recap, or if someone else is ready.
Love that.
Perfect.
All right, here's the brief overview. So our party was approached by one Mr. Chen at the guild, who asked us to rob a vehicle, obtain a case, and kidnap its carrier. And Bill had a bit of a problem with the whole kidnapping angle. But after a little bit of dickering back and forth, we got things figured out and set up a plan to stop the car by dropping Bill on it, which went over smashingly well. And so we ended up incapacitating the guards with the crash and a gas grenade. Rusty and Nugh threw open the door and found Tess, Rusty's friend Tess, to be the principal individual carrying the case, connected by an adamantine chain. So we asked Tess very politely if she would come with us to avoid the kidnapping angle, grabbed Tess and the case and absconded, decided we did not trust Mr. Chen enough to go to the safe house, and so instead went to a secondary safe house of our choosing at the New Nicomoy Coliseum, where we went through the back entrance to Honda's changing room, finagling our way in with a ladder and a little ploy with a statue delivery. So then we find ourselves entering the champion Honda's changing room at the New Nicomoy Coliseum.
And at that changing room, you see Honda, and he is a man of carriage, but muscle, and he is currently wearing more of like a bath towel type situation, and he's training in the bath towel against like a dummy, not quite sumo wrestling, but something kind of similar. And as he turns around, he looks surprised. Says, "Nugh, what a pleasure. What brings you here? And not ask how you got through the guards, but we're probably better off knowing. All right." I'm probably better off not knowing, right?
So the last time Honda saw Nugh had a vocabulary of 3 words. And so Nugh will step forward and hold his hand out and say, "Honda, it is good to see you."
Honda's eyes pop open. I was expecting sign language. He even though you're bigger than him, he still gives you, he takes your hand, he shakes it, and gives you a big hug.
And when he's hugging Nugh just very quietly says, "Birthday."
Birthday it is. What can I? And who are your friends here? They look like an interesting group.
I think you know Bill.
Bill, good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
You're not going to crush my hand, are you?
No.
He offers your hand. He offers his hand for Bill to shake.
I shake his hand. Can I also suggest a name for our little thieving group here? Can we call ourselves the Beefy Boys?
In my mind, I'd been calling you the Big Boys, but Beefy's even better.
Especially with a Minotaur.
Yeah. That was the double on
there
top.
we go. Yeah.
And this is Rusty.
Hey there, Rusty Surehoof. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, more of a paw than a hoof, but yeah, nice to meet you too. And this lovely young jackalope with interesting accessories.
And this is my friend Tess.
Tess kind of holds the case a little possessively, and she just nods and says, "Hello, Mr. Honda. Please, no Mr. That my father is Mr. Honda Sr. I'm Honda Jr." Anyway, what brings you here, Nugh?
May we borrow your dressing room for a short while?
Well, we don't really have anything going on today, so I don't think anyone's gonna notice. But can I ask why?
I point at Tess and say, "We have a friend in need of help and some not great people who want to harm her."
He says, "Well, you mean to tell me that handcuffs attached to cases aren't fashion accessories these days, and I just didn't really notice it?
Apparently not.
Well, I owe you, Nugh. So why don't we go on upstairs to the skybox? No one's using it now, and I am kind of a big deal around here.
I look around the dressing room. I think this would be better.
Are you sure? He kind of looks to Tess, Bill, and Rusty. You guys sure you don't want the skybox? It's got a sight.
That's kind of what we're trying to avoid.
I think Bill here got it in one.
All right. I know when I'm beaten, he says. Well, I gotta say, I just have one condition. This is the only condition, I swear. I gotta wrestle one of you. Working on my wrestling, working on unique opponents. And let's face it, you three would be very unique opponents.
I'm not opposed to doing a mite of wrestling, depending on how y'all feel. Looking at Bill and Nugh to see if either of them were leaping to the challenge.
My type of wrestling, I just fall on top of them usually. That solves the problem.
Oh, that's technically a pin.
More like a smush usually.
Pin, smush. As long as it lasts 3 seconds, that's all you need, right?
I think Rusty will be a great opponent for you while we try to help Tess.
Rusty takes off his sunglasses and arches a single eyebrow.
Honda says, "Well, hope you don't mind me. Hope you don't mind me wearing a towel. I like it. It's a little easier when I can breathe down there when I'm training." And he kind of gets into a sumo type position.
It don't faze me none. Tess, won't you? I'm certainly curious to hear more about your plan, but this won't take but a moment. As he's saying this, Rusty takes off, takes his overalls and does that move where they're unbuttoned, and so it's just like pants with these dangly straps. Kind of ties those around his waist loosely, so he's staying there bare chested and just kind of flexes out a little bit. All right, I'm ready when you are.
So how does the wrestling match go? You don't have to roll for it.
I'm curious. I wouldn't mind if we threw dice just to let the dice tell us how it goes down.
Yeah, so we'll do a so it's going to be an action roll. So that is you're going to pick an approach and a skill.
Yeah, I would say that Rusty's style is about precision and about using his opponent's strength and force against them. So I'm going to be throwing down smart close combat, and I got an edge in wrestling.
We're going to actually have this to be an average threat because he's not going to hold back quite as much because he's facing a Minotaur. And the effect will be standard.
And when you have expertise, it doesn't add a die to the roll, but it allows you to trade in a die for an edge? Or what? How does that exactly work?
You can either use it for the... So what was the expertise in the close combat?
Wrestling.
It is wrestling, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can either... Okay, so you don't add the... Yeah, that's right. So you don't add the die, but you get an edge. I think, or you can. I'm gonna. Okay, so then I had edge written down, and then I can't find it. Forget what an edge does. Nugh, do you happen to know what an edge does offhand? I think it automatically improves the threat or effect.
Yeah, it looks like you can use an edge to decrease threat, or the flowchart says reduce effect, but I would imagine improve effect.
Yeah. So you could. So it would basically be, so it's a effect doing the effect. So I guess an increased effect would just Rusty putting him through the floor or something ridiculous.
Cool. All right, so I'm gonna roll 4 dice on this. 6, 5, 5, 4.
Total success. Tess looks shocked as Rusty does kind of like a pro wrestling almost level move on Honda and totally disables him. Briefly disables him.
Oh yeah.
So what would that look like?
leaning into a little bit of because he's getting the energy from Honda as well, that Honda's kind of playing up even for this small crowd, doing a little bit of showboating. So there's a maneuver where Rusty gets a bit of a leg lock pin of Honda on the floor, and there's this brief moment where as two competitors, they both recognize that Rusty has him taken out, and in that moment, Rusty lets him go, stands up, does a little like shimmy shake, and then drops the elbow on him.
Old school rock style.
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh," Honda says. "Oh, that was something."
All right. Let's get down to brass tacks. Tess, what's going on here?
Tess goes from happy to a little, fairly unhappy. She says, "Well, I got into gambling again, and my debt was sold from the casino to the Bank of Nicomoy. This was the first job. They said it would clear out almost half my debt, and that all I had to do was take this case in this car, drive to someplace called the Clark Building, and then hand it to a man there who would take the case, unlock it from me, and I would have to tell, after I told him, the old man in the wheelchair sends his regards." She kind of does the equivalent of a jackalope shrug and says, I wish I could tell you more, but that's all I know. The man who gave it to me was just called himself Ramon. Don't know anything else about him."
Question. Does Tess have anything that looks cyberpunkish or augmented? I'm trying to figure out if she is from our Nicomoy or New Nicomoy.
I think she's au natural.
Okay. Then I'm gonna just be direct and ask her, are you from this Nicomoy or a different one?
I'm from the different one, she says, but this place is overwhelming, but the bank seems to have connections in both.
Interdimensional banking.
Scary, isn't it?
I got to say, Tess, I appreciate that this isn't some aspect of your job with Bonaventura. I was a little bit worried when we popped open that car and found you in there. I thought that this might have been tied up with your current employer, but, it doesn't surprise me that banks are causing problems, your gambling problem notwithstanding.
I know. I need to get that. I need to work on that, she says, laughing a little bit.
Bill is going to take out his flower that he was given, and he's going to call to Carolee Brightflitter and have her come and see if she can pick this lock and get it off of the jackalope's wrist. Carolee Brightflitter is a pixie queen who Bill has helped out a couple of times. Is the case and the chain going to it shiny by any chance?
Sure. Yeah, it's shiny. It's shiny.
Okay.
So when she comes, I'm going to ask for her help and offer her the chain and the case itself, and we will take what is inside. Does that sound fair to all of you?
I am a little bit concerned about what might be in that case. If I'm open to the idea that it is good for us to have interrupted its delivery, but sometimes locked cases contain things that you would like to keep locked.
I'm not going to give this to Mr. Chin without knowing what's inside of it.
Fair.
That seems fair. You pulling out that flower to make that call made me think of something. Bill, you had this little maneuver you did when you jumped down off the bridge where you got real tiny and then got big again?
Yes.
How's that work? Is that something that is like device oriented where you could, give Tess said device and then she'd get real tiny and slip her paw out of the little clip here they got her?
That would be GM's discretion, because I don't know exactly how the magic works. It was given to me so that I could talk to Carolee Brightflitter and that I could shrink down to the size of a pixie if I want to. So GM, can other people use this magic, or is it Bill specific?
I'll say it's Bill specific.
Sorry, only works for statues.
Well, I just figure it's worth the question.
Question for Bill's player. Can he just communicate with Carolee?
Yes.
Or It's not like an instant transporter.
No. I
Okay.
can well again. I haven't used this part of the magic yet.
Okay.
The GM who gave it to me last time told me I could use it to communicate with her.
Nope. Perfect. Okay.
Issue of an invitation in poetry.
Yeah. But,
Okay.
So I don't know poetry, but if I mean, I can tell a dirty limerick, but that doesn't really not really appropriate to the situation. But I call her Carolee. It's Bill. I need your help.
Carolee kind of says in her fancy voice, Bill, it is an honor to speak to you again. What can I do for you?
I was hoping you could undo the lock on this person's wrist and then maybe open this case. And if you can open the case, I will, open the case and get off the jackalope's wrist. You can keep the chain and the case.
Wait, and you said the case is shiny?
Shiny, it's made of adamantium. I know how much you love shiny things.
And adamantium. Yes. Where are you right now?
I'm in New Nicomoy in E. Honda's dressing room.
Oh, New Nicomoy. I can get there, but it'll be a few hours. Interdimensional travel isn't as fast as you might think.
Well, I don't think we're pressed for time, are we?
Honda says...
little?
sorry, go ahead.
A little?
Do you have
Maybe.
any other ideas?
Sorry, you were telling that to Carolee.
Just in general to the whole group.
Okay.
If they don't want to wait, that my idea is to have Carolee pick it, unless you guys know somebody else or can do it yourselves.
So just to review kind of our options on the table, like presumably there is means to open this and get it off of Tess at the destination. The Clark building is what I thought I heard. If we were to say like, we really don't like or trust Mr. Chen. Let's just completely go against what he wants. Alternatively, we call him and then arrange our pickup, possibly at the safe house, and then presumably he would help with the removing and what have you. And then now we're also like saying what's an alternate to those two options, and we're kind of brainstorming ideas here. That where we're standing?
Yes.
I may be able to try and open a ferry portal to make it faster for her to get here.
I don't know what a ferry portal is, but that sounds like it would expedite the process.
What would you need to do that, Nugh?
A poem, maybe some mushrooms, and a lot of luck.
Well, I can get you mushrooms. You know poetry. Rusty, do you have any luck hanging around? Wait, isn't a rabbit's foot lucky? Come here, you little jackalope.
Hey, careful now. Easy.
I'm a jackalope, not a rabbit.
They have the same kind of feet, right? I'm not going to take it. I'm going to touch it with it to give it the luck.
I didn't think I would have to tell a statue not to touch my feet, she says.
I haven't done it. I was just suggesting.
Honda, you're a performer and a competitor. Don't you have like a lucky something or other around here?
Yeah, he says, groaning as he gets up from the rusty elbow. He says, "Whatever luck I have, I give to you. You're a good one. You want another job on top of being the fire-breathing kitten? I bet you'd be great in here.
I'll have to file that under something to think about.
But I wish you luck. I wish I could give you something more. Ferry portals aren't my specialty."
I say we shoot for the ferry portal.
I am going to do that. So I do have a point in Attune, which is for weird magic stuff.
I was about
this
to
system.
say, it's funny. I was about to say that I don't think ferry portals are covered in this game, and I totally forgot about Attune. I forgot that they added that. It's a nice little thing
It
that
is
they
a
did.
nice little thing.
So it's the weird plugin. Okay.
The weird.
I think
yeah.
that, yeah.
Does it count as Bill helping since I'm talking to Carolee over the magic ferry phone I have?
Yeah, absolutely. I would give you, Bill, can you spend a stress to do an assist if you want?
I will spend a stress to do an assist.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know if this is smart or empathic. I'd like it to be empathic because I'm better at that.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you empathic because I'm about to say that this threat will be a 4.
Oh my god. Okay.
Because she's rolled. As she mentioned, she's both. Nugh is both literally and figuratively rolling the dice here.
Yeah. Okay. And I think because I need to use do I need to use a tune for this, or since I have a tune, can I use poetry?
Yeah, you can use poetry. So that would you want to like sacrifice a dice for an edge?
Well, so poetry is my expertise in influence.
An influence, okay.
Right. But if it's I guess it's if they allowed you to trade a die for an edge and vice versa when they're applicable. Okay. So is it that I would reduce my I'm having a hard time building this dice pool. This is fairly typical for me with Forge in the Dark systems, by the way. This is the
I think Edge is kind of I don't think Edge is in any of the other Forge in the Dark systems. Don't correct me if I'm not that I've
No,
played,
but it's just
sometimes it can get a little funky.
All the time with Forge in the Dark. It's a challenge for me to wrap my mind around, and I know I'm not alone. And this is the first the first Forge in the Dark system that I've ever played where I didn't stumble over it previously, but yeah. Okay, so
I'd let you. Sorry, go ahead.
So I get 2 for empathic, right? Because that's going to be my, and I can influence, which is where my poetry expertise is, would be like if I were trying to use the poetry to I don't know, influence the circle to open or something. But I feel like I think I need to use a tune for this because it's the weird. It's the weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's the weird, yeah.
All right. In that case, I don't really want to trade for an edge because I think that's going to mess me up in terms of my dice. If I have to lose a die, I'm going to be down to just 2, and that's going to not be great. Do I get a die from Bill, though?
You do get an extra die
he's
from
assisting.
Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, he's assisting.
Okay. That I will, in that case, I will trade it because then I'll still have 3 dice left. So.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Carolee of the Fairy Kin, whose eyes sparkle when she wins, please open wide this circle of cheer and step through to join us here. 1, 3, and 4.
1, 3, and 4. So that is a partial success.
Yeah.
With a level 4 threat.
Great. Wait. Did the edge reduce the threat, though?
Oh, the edge does reduce it to 3. Yes,
That's
it
good.
does. But it's still a partial success. Okay, so you can so the portal does open much quicker than the original several hours.
Yeah, we'll say that it's one of the lockers in this because we didn't have a fairy circle, so it's a locker that opens up and when you open the door, like you see it's like you see directly into fairyland. So you open the door and there's like purple trees and lights everywhere, and it's got little sparkles and glitter and everything, and Honda is like that wasn't there before.
A fairy circle's mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is a men's
salt.
locker room. There could actually be a fairy circle in there.
Fair.
Like I'm not like how gross they can be. I'm also a man, but yeah.
So, quick question to Rusty. You mentioned stuff with the his horns. Was it all? You said it was all just cosmetic.
Yeah, because I think again we're the prime players. So once they came over to New Nicomoy, it's just a little like sparkly bits that he was able to add on.
Okay. So here's what happens when the portal opens from the locker and the circle of very gross mushrooms. At first, Carolee does appear, but she on her wings, she is flying much faster than she needs to. And she says, close the portal. She cries.
Slam the locker shut.
As Nugh tries to, the locker gets slammed open, and a stone golem steps out, apparently following Carolee. And it's kind of like a clown car, as like 2 or 3 more stone golems appear.
Can we attempt to resist like the golems busting through there?
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Well, it would have to be Nugh to resist.
I'll try. Sure.
Okay, so why am I drawing a blank on how to resist? That's right here. Okay, so then runners can resist each consequence separately. When a PC takes a harm. Okay, so she can. So Nugh can take 3 harm, which would be pretty difficult, but it could be possible.
It just cost me 3 harm to take this.
I would think so, because it says PC takes a harm of a level already filled. It moves on to a greater level. Each harm level implies a penalty. Yeah, I think the way the harm works is you take the level of threat, and you take that much as harm.
Well, typically the
correct
in Forged in the Dark, like you would be taking that level of harm, and then as you're taking it, you can say, "Oh, I want to resist that," so that's a way of spending some of your stress. So I think you roll.
Know what? I
the
got that
appropriate
confused.
approach.
I got that confused. Yeah. Okay.
So under on the character sheet under resistance armor, it says convey how you are resisting to reduce the severity of a consequence, which I think that's what this is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Or at the GM's discretion, avoid it entirely. Choose a method. Mark and deplete either special resistance, like envision a defensive use for your augmentation, which my augmentation is augmented strength, so that would apply here, or a type of armor. And then it says roll the appropriate approach, don't add a skill, and add a plus if you opt to deplete a relevant gear. And then there's information of like, if you get a 6 and a 6, congratulations. If you get a 6, you mark stress, but you still succeed. 4 or 5, not bad, but you take more stress. And 1 to 3 is close, you take 3 stress. That's on the character sheet. I don't know if that's
Yeah, okay. I was looking at the GM's guide.
Okay. So I think in this case I'm gonna roll this as aggressive, because I think that this is an aggressive moment, which means I only have 1 die. But I will I would like to use my augmentation for this.
Yeah, that would be perfect. So I think
so that gives me an extra die, because I will be using, I'm using the augmentation. It's not relevant gear, but okay.
But it would, if you use an augmentation, you do have to mark an additional stress, because it says mark stress to activate an enhanced ability. Okay.
All right, here we go. I got a 3 and a 1, so I mark 3 more stress.
Okay, so that would be 4 stress total.
Yep. But I'm gonna resist it. I'm gonna like push back against this stone golem trying to come through, and like the door itself bends as it closes. Locker door is like bulging out now.
She says, "Oh, she Carolee kind of does an extremely over dramatic, near fainting experience. Oh, what a terrible group. Oh, you don't want to deal with them. They are very rude."
No,
she says.
It would not be fun to be a quarry for them.
She looks at you. She looks at Bill a little confused. She says, "Yes, well, Bill and guests. Well, then she looks at Tess, and her eyes kind of sparkle. I suppose that's the shiny item."
Yes.
She flutters over, and she casts her magic. Puts a little bit of fairy dust on there, And then she tugs on it, and the chain comes loose. And she says, she kind of gets shivers a little bit as she takes the case. She says, that's, maybe I just take the chain and let you have the case.
Can you tell me what's inside of it?
Something very, very important. I'm
Can
a
you-
little nervous about opening it.
If you open it, you can have it, and it's big and shiny.
I'll ask if Bill can do do we want to do an action roll for Bill trying to persuade her?
Sure, I'm not super persuasive. So that would be 1 with empathic, and I don't really have any other things. So that would just be 1 dice.
You don't necessarily need a skill, yeah. Yep, 1 die. And this is going to be a regular threat and regular effect.
Nope, I got a 1.
She says, "No, you can keep it. But thank you for the chain." She holds it up. I would, perhaps some advice, Bill.
Are you offering or asking for advice? My
I'm
advice
offering.
for you is if you have to sniff it more than once, throw the milk away.
Very good advice. My advice to you back is get this case to out of your possession as soon as you can. She says, and it was lovely to meet all of you. Oh, did I get your names?
Oh, Rusty Sherhoof, pleased to meet you.
And you?
I know better than to give a fairy my name.
You are an impressive, intelligent golem, she says. And one more piece of advice. Those scary golems that were coming after me, I don't know who's controlling them, but I think they're on their way to New Nicomoy a lot faster than I can get here. She says, "Goodbye, Bill, and thank you for the chain."
Goodbye, Carolee. It was good to see you. I will have to come visit you in your fairy realm next.
I can't wait. And then she opens another locker, holds her nose, and walks through. Who's the most, who's got, like, I guess I would say the cyberpunk equivalent of a cell phone? I guess it would be an agent, like in cyberpunk. Or do you all have agents? Essentially, who wants to take a phone call?
You know what? I took heavy load, so I'll take it. It'll be novel for Nugh.
Oh, yeah.
Talking on a phone is... I can talk.
You.
Okay.
And he gets to talk with a hologram because it's a holophone. You get a phone call and you see a woman in her mid-30s, a human woman in her mid-30s. She's got, she's of about, I'd say, like, she looks like she's from Central Asia. She's got long black hair. She's wearing a business suit. She's got, like, a distinct burn scar over part of her face. And she has, like, what sounds is kind of like a Russian accent. And she says, "Hello, my name is Oksy Timoshenko. Most people call me Oksy, and my friends can call me Oksy. You can call me Oksy. I'm afraid I have bad news. But first I must make sure you are Nugh of the fire-breathing kittens, no?"
I am.
"Oh, I heard you couldn't talk. My intelligence needs to be updated, I suppose."
Birthday.
"Yes, everyone's birthday. Now, listen, I have some bad news, but she kind of looks around and sees kind of the chaos that's kind of been remaining from the previous shoving of lockers and whatnot. She says, "I hired a man to do a job for me. You know him as Mr. Chen. Unfortunately, he betrayed me, and he was planning on betraying you by allowing men to use golems to attack you, almost like drones. Distasteful, wouldn't you say, Nugh?"
I look over at the bent locker and over at Bill, and I say, "There's nothing distasteful about golems, but they can be misused. We can be tricked."
"Or controlled, which I think the bank was going to do. What was doing," she says. Regardless, I see that, as usual, the fire-breathing kittens handled things very well. I've taken over for Mr. Chen, and I would like that case delivered to me directly.
What is inside of this case?
Oh, the statue man. That's your name. That is your name, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, statue man, something very important. It's going to impact quite a bit of people. She remains pretty vague.
My fairy friend told me to get rid of this, which makes me think this could hurt people. I'm not going to give it to you if I don't know what it does.
The only people it will hurt will be at the Bank of Nicomoy. Her hands get on her hips and scowl.
I have no reason to trust you. If you do not tell me what is in this case, you will not get this case.
It's papers.
And that was enough to make my friend tell me I need to put, is there magic papers?
In a way, there is something very important in Hardington. And those papers prove that the bank has no control in Hardington. That might not sound important.
Hardingwood.
But, sorry. In she says, in Harding, hold on. Let me do that again. So I'm going to do an X real quick. So that was 5:15. I'm going to do that speech again. Sorry about that. To 5:49. Okay. Sorry about that. She says, it may not sound important, these papers, but destiny is tied into the town of Hardingwood. An incredible destiny. And I can only assume that because your fairy friend can feel it, that is why it is so important.
Bill's going to turn to Nugh.
You seem to know people better than I do. I will trust what you say we should do.
I'm going to try to get a read on this lady to see if she is telling the truth or if she's lying.
Sure, I'll give you a standard threat in effect.
Okay. 6, 2, and 3.
Oh,
Hey.
Perfect success. She definitely doesn't see... Nugh knows that this woman is definitely not on the level, usually. But she is like... She's pouring her heart... Sort of pouring her heart out because she knows that she's... It feels like she's part of something bigger than she normally is. So if she's lying, Nugh doesn't think... And Nugh, it must be an Oscar-winning performance.
And I'm gonna just say this while looking her straight in the face. If she's lying, she's dying. It's a little bit of a threat.
I will add her to the list right underneath Mr. Chin.
Here's my confusion in the midst of all this. So, Oxytime Moshinko, you say that there's just papers related to Hardingwood here in this case. Clearly, we've named that we have a vested interest in protecting the well-being of Hardingwood. It seems like if they're just papers, well, there should be a way for us to, look at that, be like, okay, we also agree that Hardingwood should be cared for, and let's hand these papers off to someone who will use them appropriately. But everybody seems real cagey about telling us what's in here or letting us see what's in here. And if we're all on the same page, it just seems like there's a gulf, a bit of a disparity here between what's being asked of us and the transparency that could exist.
Well, you see, the Hardingwood has a benefactor. Hardingwood has a benefactor that wishes them to remain independent. Unfortunately, Hardingwood is going to be hard up against the bank. They need someone to help. This person somehow wishes to help. I wish I could give you more information, but that is all I know. At first, I thought this was a normal job, but with fairies and all these other things and destiny going on, something important is happening. She says kind of she looks like she's a little out of her element, but she looks sincere.
Here's the deal I'm willing to offer. We bring the case to you, you open it, we see what's inside, And at that point, we decide whether we're going to give it to you or not.
In most circumstances, I would say no. This circumstance, yes.
Then we have a deal. Does that work for Rusty and Nugh?
That seems fine by me.
I look over at Tess. Do you feel safe?
You guys will be with me the whole time, right? When we go to Oxy's house?
I mean, does Tess even have to come with us? She could go home at this point. We've got the case off of her.
Yeah.
Does she have an easy way home, though? I kind of imagine that we'd hang with you, Tess, or you'd hang with us until we can get you back to Bonaventura's.
I think I would like to have you come with me, Rusty, to Bonaventura's. I don't, after everything's going on, maybe they're still looking for me.
Yeah, that all seems amenable to me.
All right.
She gives you her address. Then Honda says, "Now, this is the most entertaining visit I think I've ever had." Hey, listen, can I get you guys some VIP tickets to come back?
Oh, yes.
I wouldn't say no to free tickets.
He digitally sends you comp tickets for the next show at the Nicomoy Coliseum that he is headlining. And he says, and I think he says, you got to tell me what's in that case and if it's true. I got to know.
Yeah, there sure seems to be something about, like, when you got a case and, like, people seem to know what's in it, but they never show you what's in it. Like, it just makes you really burn, like, what's going on in that case?
I know, it's almost like a movie. He shakes your hands as best he can when they're so big. Are you guys taking a car or walking? I guess you need a big car.
Truck.
Like a truck, like a more of a pickup truck at least.
I think we probably are walking.
Okay. You walk, and even in New Nicomoy, you're quite an interesting sight. So you get a couple of looky-loos. You get to like it's a big building, but it looks out of place. It almost looks like it's from regular Nicomoy, but it's kind of plopped down here. Either maybe actually moved or just a building that hasn't been touched in many years. Their guards emerge. They seem ready to. No, the guards emerge and say, "Miss Timoshenko would like to make sure that you guys aren't." I said that she said you might be holding weapons, but I think you might be weapons.
And I'm carrying weapons, and you're not taking them from me.
The guard looks a little nervous. I can give you a receipt.
I have weapons, and you're not getting them from me. I'm not going to go in that place unarmed after I told her I'm not giving her what's in this case till I know what's in it. I'm not going to be overpowered if she takes it. She can come out here if she wants, but you're not taking my weapons.
The guards look over to Nugh and Rusty, and at this point, Tess is basically hiding behind. Behind Rusty.
Nugh does not need weapons. Nugh's really good at improvised weapons. He's like, his favorite weapon is a baseball bat. His favorite weapon is not to fight, but so he's just going to say, "Sirs, I don't think you can take Bill's weapons from him. You really." And I put a big meaty hand on Bill's shoulder and I say, "He is very honorable if he says he will not use them unless threatened. He will not use them."
That would be unheroic.
And neither Nugh nor I are carrying weapons ourselves. So really, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
You guys don't have the grenade. Yeah, does Rusty still have that grenade?
Bill has that grenade.
Oh, Bill has the grenade.
That was Bill's.
Okay. Okay. One of them kind of looks like he's getting a phone call, but because through the agent, you don't actually see him holding the phone. He says, "Oxy says you guys can come in, but we will have to escort you."
The more the merrier.
They take you up, and there is you're taken up to a It's a big, beautiful conference room, like an office conference room, like something you'd see in a movie, except add some cyberpunk elements to it. You do see Oxy. You recognize her from the holocall, but there is another non-binary person there, and they are dressed in a white suit with blonde hair, and they look very immaculate, like almost doll-like. And Oxy says, "Gentlemen, good to finally see you, and I must apologize for this. This was not the way this was supposed to go. But if you can forgive me, allow me to introduce you to Mix Telfer. They will be the ones accepting this case." She offers the space right in front of her, which is like a big, beautiful oak coffee table, and says, "If you could please put the case here, Mix Helfer will open it for us."
Bill lays the case down on the table.
She pulls like a little weird, like I guess it would be like the equivalent of a flash drive, but very, very thin. And then she places it in the case. Does anybody? I know Nugh has a tune. Do either of you does Bill or Rusty have a tune?
Nope.
No.
Okay. So they open the case, and it's just like that scene in Pulp Fiction when he opens the case and there's like a glowing light from it, but only Nugh can see it. Although to Bill and Rusty, it's just like a case opening. But Oxy, Mix Helfer, and Nugh see this. Oxy and Mix Helfer are look in awe of what they see. Nugh, you see, as expected, there are papers in there, but your attunement tells you that these papers are going to lead to something big, even though they're just land records.
I was wondering if I could do a flashback mechanic and say that on the walk over that Rusty purchased and affixed like a micro camera augmentation to his horn tips. So that way, as this is being flipped and they're like, "Oh, look, it's just papers," he can just be like, be like, "Oh, okay, I don't know. We'll look at that later and see if anything comes up on it."
Brilliant.
Yeah. I think that would be so. A flashback for the listeners, that is an actual action. It says declare to have taken action in the past to impact the current situation, as long as it's not an undo of something that's already been established. The action is handled just like any other and may call for a roll if danger or trouble are involved. I will say there is. So that's going to be, I'm going to say that's a standard activity because New Nicomoy that's a pretty common augment that you can just kind of do it like at a kiosk. So that would be a stress. And
happily do that.
So that would be kind of a stealthy roll. So, well, stealthy in concept, not necessarily in approach, but probably stealthy.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm gonna want to slice it in a way that doesn't make it too ridiculous. But I agree that stealthy makes sense. So I think I would do a stealthy approach with my analyze, and I'll push myself.
Sure.
So that'll give me a pair of dice on a stealthy analyze of the case. And that'll burn another 2 stress. So that'll for the push. And I get a 5 out of that.
You got a 5, so that's a partial success.
Yeah, success with some kind of consequence or more limited.
Mix Helfer looks pretty infuriated. She casts some kind of either it's a spell or it would be it would be another attune type situation, and your augment Rusty's augment spurts and shuts down. But it's already been saved to memory.
It streamed to the cloud as it was doing it.
Yeah, the new Nicomoy drive. They say, "I'd prefer you not do that. These are precious." But
Don't suppose
Bill,
you care to elaborate on the preciousness of them.
they close the case and say, I wouldn't. Bill, are you satisfied?
No, I told you you had to tell me what was in it.
I showed you. These are land records.
Why are they so important?
Time will have to tell. Fate surrounds these. And the fate of Hardingwood might be more important than all of us ever thought it would be.
Bill is going to thumb through the records and see if Edward Hardingwood is in there or anybody he knows, and he's going to try to figure out what exactly these land records are. Because I'm just not comfortable handing over land records from my hometown to criminals that I don't know.
Essentially, how intelligent would he be able to understand like legal papers pretty well?
No.
He sees things about mineral rights being completely controlled by the town of Hardingwood, and no mention of the Bank of Nicomoy at all, meaning that Hardingwood has full control over itself, and that these papers, well, he wouldn't necessarily know if these papers are genuine, but they sure look genuine.
So I do have a tune, so I did see the flashy lights. And I do have analyze as a skill. Would it be possible for me to sort of suss out what why is there something weird, magical, around what are essentially like legal documents?
You can't quite tell precisely. You don't have to roll for this.
Okay.
But it's kind of like there's something underneath Hardingwood that could have a large impact, and a large impact to maybe even the multiverse or the timeline, and the fact that they control their own destiny is worthy of people who are attuned can feel that kind of connection.
Okay.
I guess that's the best way I can describe it.
Okay. I'm just going to turn to Bill and I'm going to say, Hardingwood seems to be a very special place.
Yes, I already knew that. Do they seem to be honest and this will help Hardingwood?
I think it will help. I don't think they're honest. But in this case, they're not being too deceptive.
Mix Helfer says...
I don't think we're being tricked.
Mix Helfer says, Bill and Nugh and Tess and Rusty, I assure you that whatever you think of me or think of what I am capable of, nothing is more important to me than making sure Hardingwood is not controlled by the Bank of Nicomoy. These papers guarantee that legally.
All right, I have one condition. Tell me where Mr. Chin is, because I told him there would be consequences if he was going to trick me, and I always settle my debts.
Oxy, in particular, looks very upset and says, Bill, Mr. Chen is no longer on my Christmas card list. You don't have to worry about ever having to pay him back for anything ever again. Let's leave it at that.
I don't know what you're planning to do, and it's probably best I don't know. But if I ever see him again, I'm gonna kill him.
Oxy says, I can guarantee you, you will never see him again.
I like this one, Bill.
The Mix Helfer closes the case, locks it, and says, and now your payment. She hands three little flash drives, so I guess it would be the equivalent of like bearer bonds in New Nicomoy. This should be excellent compensation, plus a little extra for your inconvenience.
Bill gives his to Rusty.
For your family.
Oh, you didn't have to do that, Bill.
I don't need money. I don't eat. I don't sleep inside. I don't need money, but your family does.
Oh, thanks.
Another excellent mission for the fire-breathing kittens, McSilfer says. And it was a pleasure meeting all of you, and I hope we do business again. And I think that's the end of it, unless you guys want to add a little bit more. Postscript.
I have one thing.
Yeah.
This is interpersonal, and this has nothing to do with the mission or the heist or anything. As we were walking over, maybe while Rusty was getting his special camera, Nugh would have pulled Bill aside and said to him, you are very dedicated to your cause of Hardingwood.
Yes.
Do you believe that you are dedicated because you want that and choose it, or because Hardingwood chose it for you?
I want to be a hero. I want to do what is good. I know the people of Hardingwood need me. When Edward dies, someone will need to protect that village, especially if they are very important. They will need someone strong to protect them and keep them safe. That is why I was created. I am content filling the role I was created for.
Okay. If you ever wish to leave that role, you can.
Yes, I have learned that being a hero is a choice, and if I choose to leave Hardingwood, I can do that, and it will not make me not a hero.
I think Nugh is going to put his hand on Bill's shoulder again and say, you might be the wisest of us all.
Thank you. I have written down many notes of what it means to be a hero, and he shows Nugh his notebook with all the notes he has about things to do and not do to be a hero.
Nugh pulls out one of his poetry chapbooks that have been published and gives it to Bill and says, "This is what I make notes about."
I will read this. If you would like to read mine, it is not very well put, but I think there's some smart things in there.
I would be honored. And we trade our books.
And as a coda, Tess also says after the meeting wraps up, says, Rusty, thank you for saving me. I can't believe the coincidence, but I'm just happy you were here.
Aw, shucks, Tess. I'm glad that it seemed like you're in a bit of a pickle there, and I really appreciate that I was able to be in a position with me and my friends to lend you a hand. And like he kind of glances over his shoulder at Nugh and at Bill just to see, and he's like, and since Bill did me a real solid here, and he takes the chip that he got for payment and he palms it to Tess. He's like, get yourself out from under those banker folks. Bill is contributing to the homestead fund, so I'm grateful I'm able to see if I can try and help you out a little bit of your predicament.
Her eyes go wide, and her antlers kind of, her nose twitches, her antlers kind of shake back. It says, well, that's amazing, but could you help me go to these meetings again? I was going to them and I stopped, and that's kind of how I ended up here.
I'm going to give Tess a big old squeeze and be like, Tess, I can't tell you how proud of you I am to hear that that's the thing that you're intended to do. I would be honored to accompany you and walk with you on this.
She's very excited and thanks you profusely. And I think we can say that's the end of the episode. We had a great time.
I'll just tag a little bit. I do think,
okay.
As we're like exiting the compound or what have you, that I would come up alongside Bill and kind of give him like that little like side check with my shoulder, which, he's 7,000 pounds of stone, so it just kind of is me slumping into him. But just say, hey, I really appreciate you thinking about me and my kin in the midst of what isn't exactly your problem. I know that you spend a lot of your time considering what it means to be a hero, and I just wanted to say that, man, if that ain't hero stuff, I don't know what is. So you're doing doing good work, brother. And if you ever need some help that I can provide, be more honored to lend a hand.
I will keep that in mind. Thank you.
And then I'd like to also picture that we do the what is it from Predator, where we do like the arm grab, shake hands.
Yeah. The giant biceps. Yeah.
Just like the meme.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we had a good time today with Nugh
Thank you very much for listening.
and Rusty.
I gotta say that worked out a lot better than I kind of imagined it was when we were talking to Mr. Chen.
And Bill.
Bill writes in his diary, stealing heroic ?
Bye.
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 Birthday.
Definitely keeping the birthday.